We're about to get into this delicious salmon frittata with arugula and pesto using these amazing ingredients, this spinach, this basil, bold, vivid, amazing flavor. Food and wine, what's the deal? What's going on? Chef Adjepong here, culinary advisor for Bowery Farming. We're about to get into this delicious salmon frittata with arugula and pesto. We're actually gonna start off with the pesto first. Using these amazing ingredients, this spinach, this basil. We're gonna start off with just a really rough chop, right? We wanna make sure everything kind of fits nice and beautifully inside our mortar and pestle. And as soon as I go in to get that chop, you can smell that basil just coming back and kind of like perfuming the air, right? It's so nice, has like a little bit of sweetness to it. Some toasted pine nuts, adding some of that beautiful lemon juice right here. Some fresh garlic. We're gonna go ahead and just not be bashful with it and just get all this cheese in there. We'll toss a little bit of oil in there. And then you wanna go ahead and just get your elbows in there and start to grind all of this up. I'm starting off right in the center, and then as I create space, you'll see the sides starting to kind of come up. So guys, the pesto is nice and complete, nice and homogenized. This is exactly what we want. We'll touch a little bit of salt in there, and I'm gonna go in and give it a try again before we add this into the frittata. So good. Guys, we're at the stove. We're ready to start making this delicious frittata. We'll add in our arugula, our salmon, a little bit of goat cheese as well. But first, let's go ahead and start to add in this beautiful pesto. I'm also gonna add in some milk. And I love this frittata. This is one of those things that you can make ahead of time, especially if you have a nice little brunch party coming up. Key thing, guys, you wanna make sure that this cast iron is nice and hot before we add in anything. I have some ghee. You can classify it as a clarified butter, all right? Go ahead and add that in there. And you really wanna make sure that you have enough of this to coat the pan. If you do not have access to ghee, you can go ahead and use an olive oil. Avocado oil is really nice as well, something with a decent smoke point. I wouldn't use butter because butter has a lower smoke point. Now that our pan is nice and hot, we're gonna go ahead and add in our shallots. And that sizzle is exactly what you wanna hear. We'll add in some beautiful fresh thyme, a little bit of red pepper flake. And we're gonna sweat these out, really just until our shallots are nice and translucent. We're looking to eliminate as much of that outside moisture, you know what I mean, that's trapped inside the shallots. And how we achieve that is moderately high heat. And then a lot of movement. You don't want these shallots kind of staying stagnant. Looks like my shallots have been beautifully sauteed, sweated out. We're gonna go ahead and add in this arugula, just like that. And again, it doesn't take much to really get this nice and wilted down. You start to notice that the integrity starts to break down a little bit, starts to wilt. You can get some of that peppery note immediately. I'm gonna turn this down just a touch. Looks like my arugula is almost to the point where I want it to be. So we're gonna go ahead and start to pour in this beautiful egg mixture. And now guys, we wanna gently allow this to cook, right? Let those eggs settle a little bit. I like to kind of lift up just a touch, allow the eggs that are trapped on the top to kind of soak down on the bottom. It doesn't take too long to really get those eggs nice and set. Looks like my eggs are setting up nice and beautifully. So we have some salmon. Want to make sure this is spread out nice and evenly. Just like that. And then we'll find the pockets to kind of throw in our goat cheese as well. Just like that. So you get a lot of sharpness, a lot of umami, a lot of earthiness, right? When it comes to this frittata, it's beautiful. Now it's time to go in the oven. Our frittata is done. Allow this to rest for about 5 minutes or so before digging into it. You got the goat cheese, which is just beautifully kind of bruleed, it looks like. The arugula, which gives this a nice peppery back note. The pesto, which is so delicious, it's vibrant, has those really sweet notes from the basil. And the salmon, really, it's hard to go wrong with this dish. This is like a brunch favorite. We're gonna go ahead, now that it's rested, cut into it just a little bit. Holding together nice and beautifully. The eggs are set, and this is really why it's so important to rest. This is smoked salmon. Really, you can get this in your regular grocer. And you can garnish the frittata just like I'm doing right here. I have some fresh dill, just to add a little bit of color and pop and accent everything that we got going on so far. I'm gonna take a little bit of crispy leaf, kind of just set myself up right here. A little bit of lemon, like so. Our beautiful salmon frittata with arugula and pesto. Looks fantastic. I'm digging in. Not only because it looks gorgeous, because I'm actually starving. Get a little bit of that crust. Ooh yeah, so good. Oh my gosh. I'm having a moment. Make sure you are hitting the subscribe button to check out my tremilla recipe and my clams in a sorrel and garlic cream sauce. Enjoy it. I am.